The fifth and final part in an examiner's guide to scoring well in the extended essay. Criterion E is all about engagement, and this is a bit of a different category as it's not scored through the essay itself, though it links to that, of course, but it's scored through three separate reflections that you will write during the process. This appears an easy category to pick up marks in, and it certainly can be a good source of marks, regardless of the quality of your essay, but it's not as easy to score in as it seems. And if you think that simply writing about your essay and what you did will score well, you're sorely mistaken. There are 6 marks here, and reflections are descriptive and talk all about what the student did and the things they decided to do or heard from their supervisor will remain in the bottom mark band and only score 1 or 2 marks. To reach the top 2 mark bands, there are 2 things that you must clearly do. One is that you should reflect critically about your process. This means you should explain the challenges that you faced and how you met them. This must also, by the way, be visible in your essay. You can't simply make it up. Examiners will not reward you for points that bear no connection to your essay. The absolutely key thing here is that you're being evaluative. So think about challenges that you faced and think about the steps that you took in response to those challenges. And what they're really looking for, as it says here, a high degree of intellectual and personal engagement with the research and the process, and showing intellectual initiative or creative approach. So this really does take a little bit of thinking about. You can't simply just describe the process and what you went through. You do need to put some actual reflective thought into the whole thing, which is what they're looking for you to get anywhere out of the first bottom mark band. So, as a tip to help you here, think about things like the choice of research question. Explain the challenges that caused you maybe to change track in developing your question and why that was an important stage in the overall process. You can also explain the challenges that you found with sources or methodology and think again about what intellectual or creative response you took at that stage of the process and focus on that in what you're writing. Another way to score points is to reflect on skills that you've learned in the process. Be careful though, if you simply say, I learned to manage my time better, or I learned that research is important, that's not going to score you points. Rather, you've got to explain clearly the challenge you came across as it happened in the process and how the skill that you're referring to was crucial in meeting that challenge. You've really got to go into the depth, into detail about explaining that. For example, through my draft feedback, I learned that as a writer, what you believe to be clear is not always evident to the reader. From this, I reflected that the skill of communication would be critical to success, and in response to this challenge, I went away and read about how to develop my own writing style to add clarity. That's an example of a student writing about a challenge, communication, and a skill that they have looked at and reflected on in response to being clearer in their communication. And they went away and they actively did something as an intellectual, and creative response to that. So, this is a criterion where you can definitely pick up good marks. It doesn't matter what marks you scored in the other criterion, that won't affect this one. But you do need to put a little bit of time into thinking about what challenges you came across and how you have creatively or intellectually responded to them. Simply describing the process and describing meetings with your supervisor, you're going to score 1 or 2 only out of 6. So, hopefully, some very helpful tips for you there on that one. And that's the end of this series.